gas ourselves up, but we short on breath. Talking about we eating, but who we really cooking. Dreaming about greens, but ain't nobody looking. No land, no acres, no seeds in the ground. When the hunger hits, who's gonna be around? We starving every day, and it just ain't the food. Feeding the hood garbage, got 'em acting a fool. We flossing with rides, stunting with chains, but these bars we spitting just bring more pain. We guilty as hell, preaching all these lies, selling debt to the kids, and we acting surprised. We commercialize the pain, broadcast the grief, tell the youth to hustle, but hide the beef. We glorify the trap, invite them to the flames, just like Reagan brought the crack on planes. Back in the 80s when the streets got soaked, my people, my brothers, all got choked. Reagan said no trades, but we know the deal. He left us in the dirt, man, that shit was real. I was just a shorty watching it unfold, old enough to see how we got sold. War on drugs, but it was war on us. Cops on our necks, no love, no trust. They labeled us thugs, beast on the block, made us kiss the pavement while they cleaned our clock. Prison became business thanks to Reagan's game. Free labor's the truth in America's name. Slavery's dead, man. That's just a word. Read the 13th Amendment, it's still absurd. They lock us in cages, serving time for life. Double digits for wisdom, cutting sharp like a knife. I'm here to say, the chains in the air, it's time we break free, start showing we care. No more flexing for nothing, no more selling out.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. And you already know how I start. Independent music. This is Rashad Lee. Need that, and we'll be right back right after this.
Fire start.
JMC, this shit crazy.
Said I was done, but I ain't slipped. Been on the run and I ain't gon' quit. Step out the house, I'ma need that drip. Turn up the bass, I'ma need that kick. Get the fuck out my face, I don't need that shit. But I need my chips. Nigga been stressing, I'ma need that trip. Earn my respect, I'ma need that shit. I'ma need that. Why you doing this? They wanna know who winning, why in the fuck I'm pursuing this. Ain't got an answer, it's more than me doing this. I take the L, then it's more than me losing this. Shit can get deep. Though I love making music, I'm doing this shit in my sleep. People gon' hate cause the way that I think, or the fact that I'd rather get money than drink. Lately I've been like fuck it, I've been ducking and dodging, I hate showing up in the public. Some people lie when they tell me they love me. They plotting and scheming and watching my money, don't know what to do. If you offering something, my nigga, let's start with the truth. Bout out of patience, I'm keeping my cool. It's a part of the game, so I know how to move. Said I was done, but I ain't slipped. Been on the run and I ain't gon' quit. Step out the house, I'ma need that drip. Turn up the bass, I'ma need that kick. Get the fuck out my face, I don't need that shit. But I need my chips. Nigga been stressing, I'ma need that trip. Earn my respect, I'ma need that shit. Just a day in my life. You want what I got, nigga, bring who you are to the light. Just cause I made it, don't make it your right. Cause if it's really yours, nigga, bring it to life. You want it, you got it. But I promise it ain't about to start with you watching my pockets. Real niggas hustle, repeat it and cop it. You get you a bag and don't fumble or drop it. You lacking the vision. How you gon' be the man, but you can't even make a decision? I won't accept nothing short of precision. You do what you will, but it's sort of my mission. I told him my story. You want the attention, my nigga, then stop being boring. Don't take my silence for simply ignoring. Rapping recession, the game is in mourning. Said I was done, but I ain't slipped. Been on the run and I ain't gon' quit. Step out the house, I'ma need that drip. Turn up the bass, I'ma need that kick. Get the fuck out my face, I don't need that shit. But I need my chips. Nigga been stressing, I'ma need that trip. Earn my respect, I'ma need that shit. I just want it to crumble. I'm not like the rest of you niggas. I keep to myself and I try to be humble. Promise I'll flash on the nigga that step in my zone if he bringing me trouble. Earn my respect and I gave it. I'm needing it now. Bring it here on the double. Gave all you niggas the game and I built you a bridge. Now you wantin' the tunnel. It ain't making sense. Like what do I owe you? Talk like we homies, I don't even know you. Said I'ma make it, they tell me I told you. This shit from the dirt. Said the meek shall inherit the earth. They say they wanted that shit for the birds. The way I've been living, the gift and the curse. Said I was done, but I ain't slipped. Been on the run and I ain't gon' quit. Step out the house, I'ma need that drip. Turn up the bass, I'ma need that kick. Get the fuck out my face, I don't need that shit. But I need my chips. Nigga been stressing, I'ma need that trip. Earn my respect, I'ma need that shit. I'ma said I was done, but I ain't slipped. Been on the run and I ain't gon' quit. Step out the house, I'ma need that drip. Turn up the bass, I'ma need that kick. Get the fuck out my face, I don't need that shit. I was born to do this shit, but I need my chips. Nigga been stressing, I'ma need that trip.
That was Rashad Lee. Need that. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Today I'm doing this episode for a young man who was killed in Red Wing, Minnesota last year. And his name is, excuse me if I get it wrong, Matthew Timish, who was found unconscious with a head injury on East 5th Street in Red Wing on May 30th, 2025, and declared dead on June 2nd. The case remains quiet still. Red Wing police and the BCA labeled it a suspicious death at the time. Since the initial press releases in early June 2025, there have been no public updates on the investigation status, no released cause of death or autopsy findings, no related cause of death or autopsy findings, no charges announced, no statement that the case has been closed or ruled accidental. The city's original death investigation alerts are archived, and some of the links now return errors. Local news coverage stopped after the first few days. A celebration of life was held in July 2025, but that is separate from any official findings. So I just want people to know, like, there's cases still out here that people have not gotten justice, family haven't gotten justice, because people, it's like, to be honest, if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And that's for a lot of people, you know, right now, especially in Red Wing, we're talking about APLRs, which are automated plate license readers, said they're there to stop crime, blah, blah this, blah, blah that. But that's not what it does. This is really basically the police without them having to be there. The same thing when it comes to the drones in Minneapolis. They say it's to prevent, but what do they prevent if they only catch it afterwards? And I know that we should always catch the criminals, but do we have to infringe on community members' privacy? That's a thin line, and I know that people want that extra, you know, to know that they're safe, to know that they're all right. And to be honest, I don't think that's okay for any of us. I don't think any of us are safe, no matter what color you are, no matter what wealth class you are. Because this first story this morning that I'm going to show you is about Minnesota's water systems. Over the last couple of days, there's been about 36 of them, and they're saying that it's coming from Iran. That is the part that I really want people to pay attention to, is that they are saying that these hacks, that these break in the hacks into their, you know, their systems are coming from a country that we're supposedly at war with. To me, I think people should be concerned about that, because how far does it go? And from my understanding, it's not just Minnesota. The FBI or the DOJ came out yesterday with a statement talking that water systems, not only in Minnesota, but other states as well, have been taken over by or hacked by Iran forces. So listen to the story real quick. It's about Minnesota water systems. We'll be right back right after this.
Cyberattack involving more than 30 water systems.
The attacks spanned 2 days between Sunday and Monday and even knocked some systems offline. Fox 9's Mike Manzoni joining us now. And Mike, first we should say the water is safe to drink.
Yes, Simone and Randy, that is the word tonight from state officials. These attacks did not do anything to the water supply itself. Instead, they impacted the technology used in those water systems. Multiple cybersecurity experts tell me small town water systems are attractive targets because they don't always have robust security protections. South St. Paul identified itself as one of the dozens of cyber attack targets. 3 other communities say the attacks also impacted their water systems. Here's a look at those 4 cities. In addition to South St. Paul, the cyber attacks targeted water systems in Plymouth, Maple Plain, and Bram. Now, it's still unclear who is behind these attacks, but cybersecurity expert Eric Brown says they usually come from groups with ties to China, Russia, Iran, or North Korea. Now, as for why do they do it? In short, because they can. The goal is to disrupt and send a message to the United States.
These nation-state actors are typically after either causing disruption or they're looking for monetary gains through something like a ransomware attack, which we've seen across our nation. The threat actors are now using AI to find attack vectors that maybe weren't as easily discoverable before.
And again, state officials say tonight that it is safe to continue drinking from your tap. This is really about disruption, not contamination. Simone, Brandy?
All right, thank you, Mike. Well, new at 9, incredible video from a tornado that hit the Appleton in Menasha, Wisconsin community. Watch as winds just toppled trees and power lines there. The driver who captured this video is doing okay.
Tonight, we're learning more about the EF3 tornado that ripped through that area. It was on the ground for more than 20 minutes, leaving miles worth of destruction across several communities. Tonight, the area remains under a state of emergency.
And officials say despite the devastation, no deaths have been reported. As our Maury Glover reports, they are crediting the timing of the tornado.
The power of Mother Nature is on full display in these dash cam videos of Monday afternoon's tornado in northwestern Wisconsin. The strong winds toppled trees and power lines and turned the sky into what looks like a scene from The Wizard of Oz.
I'm on Spencer Street. The power lines are down and I'm caught in the middle of it in my car.
From the air, you can get a clearer picture of the scale of the destruction.
So if people weren't paying attention, I'm letting this play because there's a lot of things that happened Wednesday in Wisconsin, weather related. They had bad tornadoes. I mean, it basically demolished these towns. It was Appleton, Wisconsin, and the other one was Menasha. I think that's how you pronounce it. I've never seen, to be honest, in my 49 years of living, I've never seen damage like this from a tornado. Not that I can remember. And to me, it's really sad. Like so much that we just think that war is it, right? It's not. You have weather, you have the politics in your, especially in Minnesota. You know what I'm saying? This should be so much, because even with the next story that I'm about to tell you about, that's what in which everybody should know or be informed about is the St. Paul mayor. I don't know about her. I'll just wait to get into that. But yeah, I mean, like to watch this damage was insane.
Flipped and homes flattened, but incredibly, city officials say there were no deaths, and they say the timing of the storm could be the reason why.
I think what helped us was it was during the week. Everybody was at work. It was the middle of the day. Most people were, not at home and at their place of employment. That's the only thing we can really attribute that to, the low number of injuries and no fatalities that we've discovered yet.
The National Weather Service says the source of all the damage was an EF3 tornado with winds up to 140 miles per hour. They say it was 3/4 of a mile wide, was on the ground for 26 minutes, and traveled 12 miles, hitting several communities in the Fox cities in the process.
We know that behind every damaged building is a person, a family, or a business facing an incredibly difficult day. Our hearts are with everyone who has been affected.
Maury Glover, Fox 9.
That
Tonight, Minnesota
is some crazy ass shit. And I wonder why people still are not believing with like those droplets that they can mess with the weather. And I know people like, oh, that's just made up. To be honest, we already know that Abu Dhabi, I think that's how you said, has it. So why wouldn't other countries, other states be able to do those things if they can, especially they can control things? Because look at the weather we've had. And at least in the last couple of years, you look at these storms, the floods. I mean, every goddamn Like, the flood shit is wild. I mean, and if you're in southern Minnesota this morning, I've already seen some reports about Mankato having some flooding issues because we are having I won't say a thunderstorm, but we are having a little rain this morning. I won't even say a little rain this morning in areas that were hit hard during the flooding time. So, but I want to get into this next story, and this is about St. Paul City Hall, right? And it made me wonder when I heard this, why people weren't taking this a little bit more seriously at first. They just thought it was some like jibber jabber between, work professionals. And there was a lot of things that went on that, to be honest, anybody should have felt. Doesn't matter if you were a man or a woman, would have felt out of place with some of these things that were going on that's in the complaints. One of them is, she was in the St. Paul Police gym working out with the chief and some other people. And while they were stretching, she was making sexual noises. To me, that's kind of weird. I'll just be honest. I mean, I can even remember being around like BLM and all that shit. And they over there talking about sticking wine bottles in their coochies or, shit like that. Like me and Ashley were like, what the fuck are these people talking about? It's like, God damn. That's why I say, like, when the news came out yesterday about Mandela Barnes, I believe his name is, he's a Democratic governor candidate in Wisconsin, and it was going to come out about his wanting to be in the DFL party to chase young girls. That's no different than what a lot of this shit is. And I don't think people honestly want to look at that. And I'm kind of glad that this conversation is actually even coming up with the St. Paul mayor, because I'm hoping that this opens the door for other conversations. And what I mean by that is we shouldn't just be having the conversation about what's work appropriate and what's not. We should be talking about what is appropriate for everybody evenly. And I'm talking about even little kids, because we can sit here and talk about, I know Minnesota is really in the news right now with the trans dolls or my doll things. And as they should be, I don't see why we need to give kids between the age of 4 and 10 Barbies that have detachable privates and they can switch them. Like, to me, that's weird. And I think a lot of people should look at that weird. I wasn't ready for a conversation about bodily functions or how my dangling was working, or like I didn't never had questions like that. I was just a regular 4-year-old. So to seeing that now that's in curriculum, or they're trying to put that in curriculum, is really, really crazy. And I think people should really stand up and say something, because this is wild. I don't remember like pre-K or even kindergarten talking about genders. Only thing I can remember is, and a lot of people get mad about this now, but if you've seen Kindergarten Cop, where the guy says, or I shouldn't say the guy, the boy, it says boys have penises, girls have vaginas. That literally would get you in trouble nowadays. And for what? When it's the truth. So let's get into Mayor of St. Paul and her sexual harassment and other things that are being alleged in the complaints.
And I'm Kevin Holmes. There are growing sexual harassment allegations tonight against St. Paul Mayor Cully Herr. We learned the city has hired an outside law firm to investigate all of it, and their investigation is expected to wrap up soon.
The accusations are shocking, and they could lead to significant political fallout. Lou Raguse spent the day digging into the claims and what could come next. He leads us off tonight with some new information. Lou?
Lauren and Kevin, I confirmed a number of details on the allegations against Mayor Cully Herr, ranging from unwanted physical contact and sexualized messages to Police Chief Axel Henry, and unwanted comments to a female deputy chief that contributed to that woman retiring. New details on the sexual harassment allegations against St. Paul Mayor Cully Herr, confirmed by KARE 11, include unwanted comments made to a female deputy chief. She told the investigator that Mayor Herr commented on the deputy chief's breasts while they were in a locker room and asked the woman her opinion on the mayor's breasts. That after the mayor allegedly made sex noises while stretching in the police weight room in front of the woman and other officers.
Does this strike you as a pretty big political scandal?
This is a major problem for the mayor.
Political analyst Stephen Scheer says the fallout for Mayor Herr depends on the results of the investigation being conducted for the city by an outside firm.
I think we really have to wait and see what steps are taken by the employees who consider themselves to be the victims in this case. And that will indicate whether there are legal options for them and legal problems for the mayor.
The allegations were first brought to the city attorney's attention by Police Chief Axel Henry, who says he was acting on behalf of himself and other St. Paul police officers. This letter from Chief Henry's attorney includes this text message Mayor Herr sent to a police officer. On the unredacted version, the mayor photoshopped the officer's face on the meme that references wienering, which is slang for sex. KARE 11 has confirmed Chief Henry's complaint includes unwanted physical contact and sexualized messages from the mayor. Mayor Herr did not respond to any of our requests for comment on the new details.
I think question number one is how can the chief of the St. Paul Police and the mayor of St. Paul have a working relationship going forward in the midst of these charges? That is the question. And it's a question for the city as a whole, and it's a problem for the city as a whole.
Now, before the story went public, the investigation that began back in April was expected to be wrapped up by the end of July. I don't know if that still is the case or if it will now take longer. Mayor Herr's statement last night from her spokesperson did not deny allegations. In fact, it said the mayor has deep respect for city employees and regrets any unintended impact that her actions may have had. She's not commented again on the new details that I uncovered today.
Yeah, and Lou, just a couple questions on this. One, has anyone sued? Is there any legal action? And two, does this involve any employees who aren't police officers?
So, no, there are no lawsuits yet. And that was what the political expert there referred to. At the end of this investigation, if there are lawsuits filed, it could be a much bigger deal. As far as the second question, so far, I don't have direct confirmation that there are people outside of the police department, but there's a lot that's going to come out, let's just say, in the days and weeks ahead. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I think people should watch this and at least have an understanding of what's going on. Before I get into my last, because that's going to be the longest, because I'm going to get into what's going on in Minnesota politically when it comes down to the Republican Party and the difference between grassroots and what they want to call grassroots. Because that's how I feel like, when it comes down to the Royce White and Mike Lindell situations, they say that, especially when it comes to like Qualls or Demuth, they like to call themselves the grassroots. To me, your establishment grassroots, especially when it comes to the Minnesota GOP, because the grassroots in Minnesota, we don't agree with Lisa Demuth. We don't agree with Kendall Qualls. We don't agree on a lot of things that have happened in Minnesota that Republicans have sit here and stood on and folded when it came down to, I know healthcare, only the adults can't get it, but the kids can. They can still get college. We didn't get rid of that. So like, what are we really standing on? And it's like, I don't get it. Even when it comes to what I'm about to show you right now, because I want to play this because I do feel like it plays a big part of what's going on in Minnesota. And people need to pay attention to this. So KSTP has been tracking the Medicaid fraud cases, especially when it comes to the state. And most of them don't even get a felony on their record. I'm going to say that again. They steal from taxpayers, but yet don't get a felony on their record. Make that make sense. Make that make sense. How do we, not the taxpayer? So these people, that's how I like really feel like people need to pay attention to this situation, right? Because when I really think about it, or even if you really think about it, if you go through here, most of these people lean democratically. I can guarantee you. That's why they're only putting out the cases. They're not putting out the number is because the number is obviously going to show that Keith Ellison should not be the Minnesota Attorney General, because yes, he does prosecute the cases, but what are the results? What are the ending results? That's what matters, right? Doesn't matter if you get a guilty plea or guilty, whatever. What is it? The accountability. Are they getting a slap on the wrist? Or are they getting put in a timeout? Which I mean by timeout is put in prison so they can think about the bad shit that they did. And I don't think that's the case. I think we're slapping people on the wrist and telling them it's okay. We were so tough in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. We're not going to be tough on you guys anymore. So we're just going to give slaps on the wrist, even though there's no transparency. There is no true justice. We'll just make it seem like it. So I'll say this. Cry now, laugh later. And that's what's really happening. We were crying then, and they're laughing. They're laughing at us. What are we doing? They're laughing at us. So let me get into this Keith Ellison story. I shouldn't even say it's about Keith because I guess it was about Keith's time as Minnesota Attorney General. And I seen that he had an event last night with Matt Little, I believe his name is. And I plugged into the video, and the first thing I saw was there was two people sitting there, and they had earphone and then some kind of like device. So I was wondering if they didn't even understand English. That's crazy to me that we got people voting and they don't even understand English. We have to give it to them in a whole nother language. To me, that's wild, because I don't know any other country that does that. I don't know any. I don't even know countries besides the shit that we're seeing right now in Spain. And that's really fucking wild, because that's how America should have been the whole Biden administration. But we are welcoming them with open arms. And the fact that Spain is, you see people who, I don't know, probably just want a better way of life. But everything isn't another country's responsibility. At some point, the residents of that area have to stand up. Why? That's the whole problem. And I'll say this even when it comes to Cuba. That's why they don't have power. They haven't had power in the last 6 months. I know media doesn't really talk about it, but if you go on TikTok and you go look at, some people who are in Cuba, and which really makes no sense to me. But then when you see that some of them have generators, so that's the only reason why they have power, and they leave it to just the fans at night so they can sleep, or their cell phones. But it's really sad just watching that shit. But just knowing that we play hardball. It's either our way or no way, right? So if they don't want to go our way, then there is no way. And that's, to me, even when you see with Ukraine, Russia, some of them countries have an ace in their pockets, right? I don't know if that's really, we should call it an ace, but they have something over America. And I'm not saying just America, period, but the presidents. Because everybody, if you don't believe these people are selling out to the highest bidder, you're stupid as fuck. Because how do these people go in as not millionaires and yet come out as millionaires when they get done with the Senate? They have a greater wealth. How the fuck is that possible when their salary is only now they're making $174,000 a year? How do you make millions a year off of that? Are people even understanding what's going on? Is because how do you get a senator who barely had any money and yet up in debt? I'm talking about AOC right now, right? I want people to look at this. Or even Ilhan Omar go into this as poor and then come out wealthy. Look at their figures for their wealth. How the hell do you grab more wealth And it's because you're sold out. I know people don't want to look at it like that, but it is. These people sell because they want to live a certain lifestyle. They don't care about selling out to the highest bidder because most of the times we can't prove it directly anyways. We have to go through all type of data requests, or it's like nobody ever wants to just fucking tell the truth, but these people are paid. So let me get into this about, I forgot what I was even on Kevin about keeping.
Hundreds of people charged with felony fraud, accused of stealing from Minnesota's Medicaid program.
It is accountability to prosecute people.
But 5 Investigates found defendants walked away with lesser charges on their record.
It's as if there had been no criminal prosecution at all. If someone is charged with felony level fraud, shouldn't they have a felony on their record?
Tonight, 5 Investigates is tracking fraud cases prosecuted by the Minnesota Attorney General's office.
Our team spent months reviewing hundreds of Medicaid fraud cases, and investigative reporter Kirsten Swanson discovered many defendants walked away with little record of the crime they committed.
This is a fraud case you probably haven't heard about. Ladafone Gonzalez worked for Minsure, the state's healthcare marketplace. In 2020, investigators say the public employee manipulated data in a state computer system that allowed Medicaid funds to flow to a company she'd set up for her daughter. Gonzalez siphoned off more than $3,300 and was attempting to steal another $10,000 when she was caught. The state's Department of Human Services fired her, and 3 years later, the Minnesota Attorney General's office charged her with medical assistance fraud, theft by swindle, embezzlement of public funds, and misconduct of a public officer or employee. In 2024, Gonzalez pleaded guilty to 2 of the charges. A transcript from that hearing shows her plea agreement included a stay of imposition.
The defendant will be put on probation for a period of time.
University of Minnesota law professor and former prosecutor Amy Sweezy explains how it works.
If the defendant successfully completes all of those conditions and terms, that final felony sentence will not actually be imposed.
Right now, court records show Gonzalez convicted of a felony, but if she successfully completes probation next year, that felony will become a misdemeanor conviction.
It's an incentive for a defendant, particularly in the cases of a felony, to complete those terms of probation so that at the end there won't be a felony conviction on that person's record.
Gonzalez's attorney says his client has taken responsibility for what she did, is in the process of making amends, and will be off probation soon. But this case isn't an outlier. 5 Investigates analyzed more than 250 Medicaid fraud cases charged by the Minnesota Attorney General's office.
Funds are paid to
We found nearly 80% of the convictions fall into this category. The defendant completes probation, and the felony is knocked down to a misdemeanor. And at least 70 other convicted fraudsters had their criminal conviction dismissed after probation.
It's as if there had been no criminal prosecution at all. If someone is charged with felony level fraud, shouldn't they have a felony on their record?
That's not something that the Attorney General would ultimately decide.
Keith Allison is Minnesota's Attorney General. His office is responsible for prosecuting Medicaid fraud cases.
These things are decided by court discretion in sentencing.
But as the prosecutor's office, you often set the tone for those cases.
I think that it is an adversarial system that involves both the prosecution, the defense, and the court.
Allison pointed to the Minnesota Sentencing Guidelines, a set of standards judges use when deciding a defendant's punishment. Offenders with little to no criminal history, convicted of theft of any amount, receive a non-prison sentence.
How is that system working?
Well, because the person was charged, was brought into the court system, had to maybe make several court appearances, had to plead guilty to criminal wrongdoing in front of the whole wide world. It is a serious consequence. It is life-ruining to be charged with Medicaid fraud, even if you somehow manage to complete probation without a permanent felony.
This year, the legislature created a new crime
You
prosecution.
know what? I want to say that's bullshit, right? Because I know, here's the thing. Minneapolis still deals with Antoine Ace Boogie Moore, Chasma Dixon. They still deal with Brian Herron. They still deal with Lisa Clemens. Come on, man. Y'all don't do what's right. That's what the crazy shit to me be, right? Is even on this other shit. Like, if you get charged with a felony, it shouldn't be able. The whole crazy thing for me is, right? Like, there's so many loopholes through the system, and if you know the right people, it can go a whole lot smoother for you. But if you don't, if you got the money, you can make it go smooth. But if you're poor, you can't make it work for you. You can't. They have it stacked up against you. I don't know how many people I've talked to that have been through situations by themselves because, first of all, they didn't want the community activists or the organizations don't want to go at the city because that's who pays their bills. That's who feeds them. You know, that's why we see not complete justice, but on paper it looks good. But what's really happening? Come on, people. This is how stupid are Minnesota voters, because they call me low IQ. They call me a low IQ voter. How? When I can sit here and say that back in 2022, we were calling, actually, we can go back to 2021 that we were calling out feeding our future. And I've already explained that whole situation that happened on July 4th. We've already explained that. And if people still don't get it then, they don't get it now. I was calling out Keith Ellison in press conferences that there was links to his office through Feeding Our Future. That's public data. That's public knowledge. I don't have that page anymore or the video, but the video is still out there. I'll try to find it today and I'll post it because that is out there. But people need to wake up. People need to wake up. And the problem was, a lot of it was the messenger, not the message, but the messenger. And I think that's what the biggest problem was, because even when I met with two I'm not going to say their names because I'm not trying to start drama or any of that shit, right? What I'm telling you is a real life fucking conversation that I had with two Republicans. And I went there and I talked to them about fraud, about how nonprofits and black churches in Minneapolis, nothing about Somalis, not a goddamn people about Somalians, right? It was all about black churches and white people. I didn't say anything about no African. Everything that I talked about were gangs, churches, scams, DBAs, 990 forms. So, and I wanted to get accountability. And it wasn't even just accountability. We as Minnesotans deserve transparency. We deserve it. We don't deserve. Here's the thing, because I know a lot of people give Royce for about how he talks. You're just trying to make him politically correct. Let him talk how he talks, because that's how a lot of Minnesotans feel, that we're getting fucked with some lube and then without. But when you say that, they call you, oh, you're homophobic, you're this, you're that. No, man, we just out here speaking the truth. Because unless you're one way, that's the only thing that they see. Because if it ain't their way, they don't want to deal with it. That's why I hate when we see this bipartisan shit, right? Were y'all bipartisan on tampons in boys' bathrooms? Were y'all bipartisan on gender affirming care? Are y'all bipartisan on boys and girls sports? So y'all can be bipartisan on other shit, but there's all kind of fucked up other shit. Y'all ain't nowhere near it. So should we consider that to be bipartisan about everything that goes through? Because right now it's heavily Democratic. Heavily. So I don't understand it. It's like, why do people fall for the bullshit? We allow these people to gaslight us. And second of all, there be too many leaders who don't understand or even weren't in Minnesota when it first happened, or even when it did happen. That's what hurts me even about, I see the things right now going about Heritage Park Apartments and Minneapolis where, some of their projects used to be. And it hurts me to see that people don't bring up the Holloman lawsuit. They don't bring up the consent decree. They don't bring up that that project was over $1 billion. That was to take care of the people in North Minneapolis, but also take care of the migrating, and I'm going to say migrating because it was inside of our state, to suburbs, to rural areas. That gave them money to be able to build what's called affordable housing outside of the metro. People need to go look at that lawsuit. They need to go look at that consent decree because Minneapolis Public Housing Authority is doing the same shit. Doing the same shit they were doing all the way back in the 1990s that Ron Edwards was calling out. Rest in peace, Ron. Because he was calling out the NAACP. The same people who said they were supposed to be helping them. He was calling them out. But yet, people don't remember that because Pearl Warren's not from Minneapolis. No disrespect to her or Vita. They're not from Minneapolis. No disrespect to Mayor Frey. He's not from Minnesota either. None of them are. So how are they going to remember a situation or a time that they weren't there? Because I can remember that shit. I was running the streets. 1990s, I was running the streets. I was 13. I shouldn't say running the streets because I was already in juvie by that time. By 13, 1990, yeah. But just to even see how Minneapolis was operating, it's crazy as hell. But yeah, people don't want to stand up to that shit. People don't want to stand up. Because it's not about right and wrong, right versus wrong to them. It's about politics. It's about politicians, nothing else. Nothing else. I'm going to show this. This was an interview with Mike Lindell that KSTP posted with Tom Hauser yesterday. And I want to show, this was the last thing I'm going to talk about, probably like 30 minutes or whatever. But I want to talk about the conservative identity crisis in Minnesota, because yes, we do have one. And it's time that we need to talk about it. Because a lot of people are putting words in others' mouths and then taking those words or even those statements or quotes out of context. And I'm here to nip all that bullshit narratives, these farce of storytellers. I want to bring the truth. So I was going to just show you a clip that Dustin had posted on his page, but I found the whole video and I don't want to clip out anything that the man says. I want to let the whole thing play because this isn't about an agenda. This is about the truth. This is about transparency. And even still to this day, I still have conversations with other, I'm not going to call them Republicans because, there's some people that are like Minnesota GOP endorsed and they don't go that way. You have people leaving BPOUs because of politics. And it's all because of what we see. A lot of it is because of what we see. And a lot of people don't want to get it in their brains because they're indoctrinated. Or they want to be like Dustin because they're paid. They're not paid to out here, sit here, give you the truth. They're paid to spin that narrative. That's why I don't fuck with John Justice or AK or even none of them anymore, because it's not about truth to them. It's about what they can show you. What can they show? It's not about truth, because I'll tell you right now, right, is that AK talks about all these immigrants and all this shit, right? Nigga, your daddy came over here on a student visa and overstayed, got your mom pregnant, and already had a whole nother family over in Sierra Leone. So why you over here talking about America? Nigga, you ain't not even an American. Nigga, you are African. Shut the fuck up. I can't stand that. And the same fact that John Justice talk about America first, Minnesota first. How? When you got motherfucking Africans up there. You have an African who calls himself a Republican. This should be wild. And that's how I know that the Republican Party of Minnesota is fucked up. When it goes all the way up to Alex Plesh and even their committee men and committee women, right? These I'll just say this. These motherfuckers wouldn't know the truth if they kicked them in the ass. And I mean that for a lot of people. I mean that for Dustin. I'm talking about Mary Franson. I'm talking about Walter Hudson. And he was one, you know what? Fuck that. He was one of them Republicans that I gave that presentation about fraud to. Yeah. So they want to talk about unity. But the minute you talk about accountability to get to that unity, they don't want to be a part of that. They don't want to be a part of that accountability. So let me get into this one-on-one with Mike Lindell in the primary election, August 11th. It's only under 2 weeks. We got to get out here and we got to make our vote count, because I'm going to make sure that the people around me are getting up and making sure their voice is heard. So we need to make sure that everybody who is over the age of 18 and is an American citizen and resides in Minnesota, we need to go make sure that their voice is heard. And I know a lot of people think that the vote is fucked up. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that we have wasted votes or anything like that. Because even if you lose, that gives you something to strive that you got to go a little bit more harder for. And I truly believe that in 2026, that besides going into Minneapolis, and I know it's scary. I know it's scary for the Republicans. But if you're going to overtake statewide, you have to come into Minneapolis. And I'm not talking about just being there for the Somalians. I'm talking about being there for the Black community. I'm talking about being there for the Native community. Because a lot of people have stories about how they've been brutalized and how they've been traumatized. And there's a lot of Republicans that still don't take account. They don't take that into account because they already believe that Minneapolis and the Twin Cities is already gone. It's already gone. Let's show them that it's not, because it's not. We are the lifeline of Minnesota. Minneapolis is Minnesota. So if that gets overtook, then Minnesota is gone. If the Twin City gets overtook by socialism, Minnesota's gone. If we don't, I'll say this, if our only shot, our only hope at this of trying to reset Minnesota, I'm not talking about reset America, I'm talking about reset Minnesota, is we need change up at the top. And that means we need a new governor. We don't need another governor who is, I know he's endorsed by Trump, but I'll tell you like this, the Minnesota GOP goes harder at Lindell than the Democrats do. So that should show y'all something right now. That should show you something. Because I'm going to tell you, I don't care how much money Amy Klobuchar has. She's not going to win. She's not. They're going to have to cheat. They're going to have to do ballot harvesting. They're going to have to pay for votes. Because I will tell you right now, I don't give a fuck what the Black church says either. Because I'm going to come out, and I know I've been told to be quiet about certain things. I'm going to try not to mention the man's name, but I dead ass going to go at them. Dead ass. And I don't care, because truth and accountability needs to happen, because if it doesn't, our state, our city is gone. It's gone. So if people don't understand what's at stake and talking about, well, we're going to see violence. You're going to see violence. If we get another Democratic governor and even a DFL trifecta, you don't think that we're going to have some type of martial law in Minnesota? Because I'll tell you right now, we don't have nobody who is an elected official of power that wants to do what's right. Because all I see is a bunch of words and a bunch of word salad. So let me get into this Mike Lindell interview. I believe it was last night. and it's about 14 minutes long. Yeah, 14 minutes long. So I'm gonna try to play the whole thing through.
For as long as I can remember, and probably you as well, has been known as a high tax state. If you are elected governor, what would be your position on taxes, whether it be income taxes, sales taxes, or the big issue now, property taxes?
Yeah, I've got my budget proposal is going to be out within 7 days, and on that we believe that we can save over 20 billion, which would do two things. The property taxes, for sure, for anyone there, will be lowered, gone with the with anyone that's got their houses paid for, and as far with the income tax, I want to either bring that way down with this 20 billion that we believe we'll save, or eliminate the sales tax, or a combination of both. This is my whole budget, is to get this $71 million budget, save about 20 billion, and give it back to the people. We've got to make Minnesota affordable again. This is our number one thing we have to do to save our state.
And I know you meant 71 billion, you said 71 million.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, 71 billion, and we're going to save 20 billion or more, and everyone can see that. I'm just not blowing smoke. We have a budget coming out, and it'll be later, probably within 7 days. I wanted to get this out before the primary date.
And it's going to 20 billion in tax reductions.
And 20 billion in savings, and we're gonna that money's gonna go to tax reductions. And I haven't decided which section, whether it's eliminate sales tax or and then lower income tax, or I'd like to get rid of income tax altogether. I've been talking to other states that have done this, which is your Tennessee, your Texas, your South Dakota, your Florida. You know, that's one good thing I have an advantage is I can call up my friends that are governors and say, and look into how is this working there. It's one thing to do the savings, but to get the savings, but where are you going to put them? And in Minnesota, it's all got to go right to the people with lowering income tax, get rid of sales tax, get rid of property tax. But we'll have real things to back this up, not just saying, because everyone always says, well, we're going to lower your taxes. Well, how are you going to do it? You're going to see, Tom, it's going to be amazing. Some of this has never been done before.
And people are going to immediately say, well, how do you pay for that? Will it require a big decrease in services Minnesotans have come to expect?
No, you're one of the things is healthcare. We have a whole healthcare thing our system put in that will be put in, which saves in all sectors. It actually improves things like healthcare. And then that's where the savings come from. I'm not just going to go cut programs. We have 24 major welfare programs and over 400 NGOs. We have already, my teams, we've looked into each and every one. We believe we can, some will be eliminated, some will be streamlined. And where you get the best return on your investment, and you're cutting these costs, but you're improving things. In our education in Minnesota, you had 29% increase in our costs in education, and at the same time you went down in our testing. I'm bringing another thing that's been proven. Actually, the state of Mississippi, looking at what they've done, they saved 30% and went up in testing. So it's these businessman decisions. This is where, and everyone's gonna be able to see it while you're saving billions over here and billions over here. But what I don't like is when politicians say, oh, we're just gonna cut this program, trim away all the programs. Well, you know what? You might hurt one that's really doing good, and so you have to look at each one as a businessman individually. That's what I'm going to do, and that's what we've been doing. So it's not going to be like take over here from people to help over here.
And finally, and very quickly on this, how will property taxes figure into this? People have been seeing 15, 20, 25% increases. How will that factor in?
That one's one of the first ones that I believe we can eliminate. I really believe that one would be the first one to go down, because there's two combinations there. One is what we see all our new programs we're putting in to save money, but you're also the education program where a lot of this money when you got bonds on top of bonds, and then when they run out of money, they raise our property taxes. By putting in the new education system, and then also by these savings, property tax, I want number one on the list. It should go away. For sure, people that have already paid for their houses, and you get taxed right out of your house.
Let's move on to education, get through these other topics a little more quickly. Minnesota is spending more now on education than ever before, but the performance in the classroom is not following suit. what would you do to get more bang for the education buck in Minnesota?
Yeah, that I actually touched on that one really quick. We went up 29% in spending, and we went from top, like you said, Tom, top echelon up here and dropping like a rock in testing. I'm a businessman. I went out and seen other has anyone other state done better during this time frame? And one stood above it all. That's Mississippi. They were 50th in the nation. They moved up to, in a few short years, moved up to 35. Now they're in the teens. And they spent 30% less money. You guys, I don't have time to tell you all, but you'll see that in the budget, how this is a perfect, here it is. It's already proven. Boom, you plug it in. We're going to save upwards of 50% in our education for cost, but we are going to improve and be one of the best in the country.
And just give me one example. How would you do that? What would you do? Is it getting back to the basics? What is this about?
Well, in Mississippi, I've studied what they've done. They bring in hooked on phonics. They're bringing in. They got rid of the DEI in the schools. They did all the. It's a whole bunch of things that manifested to this. They brought in people to teach English and reading and writing, and they brought in specialized teachers for that. It's a whole list, it would tell you. And they were going to also put that in the budget and show people, here's what they're actually going to do, because I want people to wrap their head around this. What a common sense solution that's already been proven, and we just bring it into Minnesota. The education piece will be the easiest one for me as a businessman, because in any business, if you always look and see if someone else in a like business has done better or had improvements, and you bring it into your own business, in this case, the state of Minnesota.
On the issue of healthcare, recent federal legislation has knocked a lot of people out of programs that help subsidize their healthcare, and healthcare costs are going up exorbitantly. Many Minnesotans cannot afford it. Does the state have a role in helping them?
Imagine being able to build an app with your...
That's a good question. My bad. All right, we're back.
This is going to be a biggest part of my budget and help for the people of Minnesota. And this one, Dom, I really would take too long to answer everybody. Look forward to this in the next 7 or 8 days when we put it out there, because healthcare affects every single thing from our education, everywhere that employers are being charged for healthcare, the employees, you can't afford to live here. This is the biggest part, I believe, of my budget, at least the thread that goes through it. Our healthcare is going to be lowered and better like you wouldn't believe. And it's that'll be the little surprise for everybody, because, and it's worked. It's proven it's worked in other places, and it's something different that we have here. And yes, the state absolutely can be part of this, but it also goes back to the private sector a little bit, Tom. So it's a little complex. We'll save that for the surprise to show everybody.
On the fraud issue, the legislature recently took a lot of steps to fight fraud after it's happened, and also to try to prevent it. What would you do to continue that work?
Well, my lieutenant governor, Philip Parrish, he was one of the first whistleblowers that fell in the fraud. I'm putting him in charge. It's like a Minnesota Doge. You got to dive in there and you got to find this for the rest of the fraud. I don't believe they've done enough. Nobody in Minnesota believes they've done enough. It hasn't been stopped. I've been at the Minneapolis airport, met with the TSA. They said there's still 12 suitcases a day going out with our cash. This needs to be stopped. That's my number one when I get in there. And we're setting up ahead of time. I've already met with different groups and stuff, doing our own investigations. This will be stopped. And preventatives, the preventatives are going to be put in like you've never seen. I do this in my own company. You have deviations and blocks, and it's going to be very much a communication between the governor's office and all of these welfare programs and these commissioners running these. They're going to answer directly to me. It's not going to be, oh, we're missing $2 billion. It's third quarter and it happened months ago. In real time, we're going to set up deviation. It's a system, you guys. We get these set up, and you know what? We're going to know if there's missing money in Sector 3 when it happens, or whatever it may be. And it needs to stop. These need to be put in immediately. People ask me, well, you're going to go back and get all the money that's gone? You guys, yeah, we would certainly try. But for now, we need to stop it, the fraud in its tracks. You learn by terrible mistakes that have been made, and or terrible crimes that have been committed. You learn by this, and you make it the best you can be. That's business 101.
On the issue of immigration, does the state have a role in helping the federal government, ICE, border agents, enforce immigration laws in the state of Minnesota?
100%. And this is where my thing went out there all over social media. Amnesty. No, I don't. I've never been for amnesty, never will be for amnesty, and never have been. But we have a unique situation in Minnesota. 54,000 driver's licenses or ID cards have been given to illegals. We have employers here that are paying cash and stealing from the state of Minnesota, not paying taxes, and stealing our jobs from our people that are citizens here. I will cooperate with the federal government, with ICE. And if you do that, like these other states have been, or like your Memphises or your Washington, D.C., if you have them pick up the bad illegals, which are the ones in our prison that we're paying $110 million a year to house in our prisons. And all we have to do is pick up the phone and say, hey, here they are, come and get ours. And then our sheriffs in our state who don't have the power right now to call up ICE or they're stopping people, arresting people, and they letting them go. You got to cooperate on that level with ICE. And then they don't have to go door to door in the tragic things that happened in Minneapolis. This is a fine, I can't do as.
I want to ask a question. Because I've seen all kind of misinformation, taking his words out of context. What I want to ask is, how do people get amnesty out of his words? Like, how do you come to the core fact of amnesty when, to be honest, if we really want to talk about plans and we want to talk about, doing actions, what has been happening in the last, I'll just say like 4 or 5 years, all we have seen is fraud. We have seen open borders, and we haven't stabilized our community, our economy. What we've done is overdrive it. And what I mean by that is we're paying for people who come over here to go to college. As long as they live in the state long enough, they can go to college. We give them driver's license. And I hear a lot of people talking about, oh, well, Lisa will do this, Lisa will do that. She'll do what? That's how I know people aren't doing their homework. They're not doing their research, because you don't want to go back and look at the votes. You don't want to go back and look at the statements. You don't want to go back and look at her history. No, you just want to come out here with misinformation. You want to be misinformed. And I really do believe that is the biggest divide between Republicans, grassroots, and patriots. Because I don't even call us grassroots anymore. I'm going to be honest. I call us patriots, because a lot of the people that I converse with, a lot of the people that I am close with, they're by any means necessary Republicans, which are totally different than the rest of the establishments. I'll tell you like this. Even when it comes to like the local BPOUs, and they're divided. They don't like us. You know how this is the one crazy thing. And if Lindell and Parrish do win, that's one of the things they don't want, is that Doge. Because there's a lot more fraud out here that we're not seeing, that they're not even telling us about, but yet y'all keep on voting for them. Don't you want accountability? Don't you want transparency? I would believe y'all would want it, especially in Minnesota after the shit that we have been through since 2020. But then I understand that maybe a lot of people haven't been affected by it. You weren't affected by, watching the video of George Floyd. You weren't affected by getting masks. You weren't affected by the Minnesota legislator allocating over $1.1 billion in omnibus bills. Everybody always asks, where's the money? Where's the money? Are y'all going to look in the omnibus bills? Are you going to look in the omnibus? Because everybody always says there's no money, right? Go look in the omnibus bills. That'll show you that these niggas are lying to you. That these people, excuse my using the N-word, these people are lying to you. They're lying. They're lying. They're bold-faced lying to you. and how I see them as dirty fucking liars. Because it's not about making sure that our community's better. No, it ain't nothing about that. It ain't about getting people off drugs. It ain't getting people mental health help. Because if it was, it should already have been as much money as we put into homelessness, as much money as we put into affordable housing in the last 10 years. All this shit should already be eradicated. But because we have greedy and who are in love with money politicians, we don't see the change. We see it talked about. We see it on paperwork. But I'll tell you this, go look at the paperwork. Look at the contracts. Because, you know, what's crazy is Ron Edwards did. He said Heritage Park, it was about $19 million per unit. $19 million per unit. How the fuck does that equal out? When they have, I believe it's like 440 units. Go look at it. And then you tell me why y'all ain't matter. Why you're not more pissed. Because literally, this is why I think, like, I sit there and like, money really ain't really a thing. Because it comes and goes. If you know how to get it, if you're a hustler, if you're a by any means necessary person, there's nothing that can stop you. They can think they can stop you. But the minute you get one person, or even somebody that believes in your dream as much as you do, that believes in that mutual aid, that believes in making sure that kids can read, making sure that, you know, the violence interrupters are really violence interrupters. And I'm going to get into that in a minute. Let me play this rest of this Mike Lindell video, and then I want to talk about violence interruption.
Governor be a sanctuary state and not cooperate with the government like our current the people that we have in power now that have caused disasters here. If you cooperate, there right now other states have been, and you get rid of these ones that are in your prisons and the one that commit crime, and whatever the federal government wants to do, I'm going to be directly as a governor. Yes, we are cooperating.
And finally, on the amnesty issue, you say there was some confusion about that. It did sound like you were proposing an amnesty program. Where did the confusion come in?
Here was their confusion. There's no amnesty as a gateway to citizenship. What we had here, this came up in a conversation between me and Esme Murphy and on your show, Tom. We have 54,000 illegals here that we gave these ID cards for, and the ID cards were supposed to say not a citizen. They don't say that. So in essence, what's happened is you're able to drive on them. You're able to vote in our elections. Your names were put on the voter rolls. We've got a big problem there. So what I was proposing was, you know what? Take these people, go give them to the courthouse, get them, fingerprint them, give them 6 months to do that. And then at the end of the 6 months, these employers could never employ illegals that didn't have that card, which they already have. It was trying to solve a problem here in Minnesota. It wasn't an amnesty, but I will tell you this. Now that this is all blown up, I realized I couldn't do that anyway to have them come in and get fingerprinted in 6 months, because then I would be doing the same thing as our current government's doing with Waltz and them, protecting illegals and giving them these cards to vote in our elections and drive on our streets. We have big problems up in St. Cloud with these people driving. They don't know how to speak English.
I'm glad that, you know, people that were part of the team, are part of the, you know, ambassadors, actually took a look at what everything that was being. Mike's not a politician. Neither is Phil. Neither is Phil. Neither is Mike. They're not politicians. What they are businessmen and a whistleblower that is tired of seeing Minnesota go the way that it has been. And instead of actually trying to make solutions and trying to get to the core of that problem, they wanted to divide and make sure that there was dysfunction, because that's the only way they win Minnesota. That's the way that Democrats and Republicans, that big ass uniparty, wins Minnesota, is that we allow them, because we get divided by information that is actually misinformation and not really do our homework. Because I can tell you this, is that when I read that plan, because I just read it last Wednesday, the same as everybody else. Boom. I never heard of amnesty. I said that before, until last Wednesday, until everybody wanted to blow it up and make it something that he never even said. Never even came out of his mouth. Maybe the plan looked like amnesty because y'all wanted to put that context into amnesty, but it wasn't amnesty. He wants to do something completely different than Tampon Timmy. Let's be honest. And Republicans and Democrats are scared of that. They're scared of that. They're scared of the Doge. Because I can tell you right now that there's information that Robert has put out there that nobody took that shit seriously, but you know who did? Phil Parrish, Mike Lindell. Bobby Joe Champion didn't because it was going to make him have to be accountable. Keith don't like it because it was going to make him be accountable. When it comes down to accountability, these people don't want to be accountable. And we still don't get it. I won't even say we, because there's a lot of motherfucking Minnesota voters who don't get it, because I still see people. You can't say Black Lives Matter if you're voting for Amy Klobuchar. You can't say Black Lives Matter. I don't want to hear a motherfucking Black Lives Matter out of somebody who voted for Amy Klobuchar, because you don't. You don't. You let Amy put innocent Black young men who are men now in prison for something they didn't do. How is that not, y'all ain't that what y'all call racism? Because y'all say that about Trump in the Central Park 5. How is that any different than what Amy Klobuchar doing, what she did? Please make that make sense. How is Trump saying that shit any different than what actually Amy Klobuchar did? Or the fact that Keith Ellison railroaded young Black men for a crime they never did, and yet allowed a man who just died recently, but to walk the streets. Make it make sense, because they won't. They won't give y'all the truth, because they don't want y'all to know the truth. So let's get through this real quick.
A lot of them how to read signs, and it was like a businessman's solution, but it wasn't amnesty. There's no gateway. I did not want these people, we're just going to pardon you and give you a citizenship. No, I was thinking, there was confusion there, and that's where I say the confusion, Tom. And also, I can't do that anyway. The stuff that was out there is on a federal level. And what I put in there was, if this was done on a federal level, the 18-page plan for the whole country that wasn't even supposed to be posted, but let's say we did that. If that was put in, Minnesota would save $1.5 billion a year that these employers and these illegals are not paying in taxes and stealing jobs from our citizens. So it was like, here's a solution in Minnesota, but it can't be done anyway. So here's what's going to be done. When I get in there, if whatever ICE, these prisoners are going out immediately, as is our sheriffs. They're very frustrated around the state, going, what do we do? Mike, I can arrest my brother for a road crime, for a DWI, whatever. And then when I arrest an illegal, they can't call ICE. They can't do it. They got to release them. It's not right what's going on in our state.
Okay, he is Mike.
See, and that's another thing that you guys aren't being told. That's something that they're not saying. They're not being truthful. They're not being transparent. So yeah, it is. I just wanted people to know, right? Because I was tough. I was rough on Lindell. And Robert changed my mind when he told me, because I did have concerns, especially when it came to the fraud. But when he told me, when I learned about, that Phil's plan, they would make sure that, Phil would be on top of it. And he had his word, and I had his word. So I believe in Robert. That's who I have my trust in. And hopefully, the more that I see out of Mike and the more that I hear out of him, that soon he will have my trust as well. And that, because it is up in the air. I'll be honest. I mean, I had my own issues with Lindell that had nothing to really do with politics and much greater. But to be honest, we're around here allowing people who, like the mayor of St. Paul, we're allowing these people to molest kids and we don't say shit. And for somebody to actually isn't as scared of the establishment and wants to go at it head first, I had no choice, but I won't even say a choice, but I had to get behind him. He was the same thing as Phil, and just because it's Phil is the lieutenant governor, and Lindell is the governor on that ticket, doesn't mean anything changes. Because a vote for Phil is a vote for Mike. They both want the same thing. We all might not have the same roadmap to get there, but we all do have that same ideas that we want to see Minnesota better. We want to see Minnesota better than what it was or what it is. Because it was, I'm not going to say it was great, but we were a community. We were a village. And they've got rid of that village. They fractured that village. And people are just okay with it. You don't want to stand up and fight it. You just want to bend down and take it up the ass like it's okay. And it's not, because we can come out of this. And the way that we come out of this is unity. I want to play something else, and I want to talk about violence interrupters, right? Because I'll say this: when you see these violence interrupters out here, you see them in t-shirts and groups and walking, but they're never in the hot spots. And that was the same thing all the way back in 2021 when Black Lives the Streets with Marcus and Alamar and me, Todd, Kia Bible, Jennifer Van Zandt, Ashley Radloff. We cared. And we were out there during demon time, which was the hours of 10 at night to 4 in the morning. We had bulletproof vests. There were some of us that were strapped that had guns, because if we were going to get into a situation, and what I mean by that is if we were going to break up something and they were strapped, you can't go into a gunfight without nothing. That's just stupidity, because you're going to get yourself killed. So we were strapped. Didn't matter if it was people breaking in, because there was a situation where a car was stolen, and there was actually shots let off, and we didn't call we didn't call 911. You know what we did? We chased them. We got in our cars and we chased them, even though that probably wasn't the right idea. It was bad. Nothing happened, and I'm very thankful for that. But to know that the reactions that we have seen from the police when people have been shot, they don't come. And that's not a lie. That's normal. So even when they put this out, that violence interrupters are, to me, I just think that we're not putting the information out here. I'm going to be honest. Are people not reporting? Because first of all, unless somebody's hurt, unless there is significant property damage, they don't come. They don't come for shots in a broken window. I mean, if they're looking for evidence and, yeah, they will at some point, but that doesn't mean they're going to come right there, right then, there, and now, because they don't. And we want to talk about that violence interruption has dropped shootings. Again, that's another lie. All we've seen this summer is violence. Doesn't matter if it was St. Paul, we've seen shootings. We've seen it in Minneapolis. You just don't hear about the ones in North Minneapolis that much anymore, because they keep it out of the media. They keep it out of the public's eye. So if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And it's the same thing that what they're doing with the violence interrupters. And they're not, see, people weren't listening to Jeremiah Ellison, because when that ideal of violence interrupters even came to the ideal of the Minneapolis City Council, they thought it was a good idea. But how it was actually being used was not violence interrupters, because the only time they would ever really be out there was after the crime had already happened, or they were out there to police the community members, because yes, some of them do have community relationships, and a lot of them relationships do actually mean something in the streets, but it hasn't changed shit. Because I can tell you like this: why haven't we caught some of the that should already be caught? We have more than enough cameras. We have more than enough Y'all got confidential informants, but then I understand it when you have churches or nonprofits turn other people in and then get the rewards. But they don't want to tell y'all that, but it did happen. There was a reward paid to lock up somebody that never committed the crime, and we never got the name. That's I'm not lying about that. That's the truth. They paid out $4.5 million, but yet we couldn't get the information that they used to pay out somebody and lock up an innocent man. You make that make sense, because to me, I should think or feel like a lot of black people should have problems with these churches over north, and you don't. And that just shows me is that they don't want to bite the hand that feeds them.
Monitors its violence interrupter program. City pays community groups to work in neighborhoods, de-escalate conflicts, and help prevent violence. Comria Bray is taking a look at the oversight and accountability behind the program.
We're at Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Park. In May, this was the site of a quadruple shooting, but right now it's a community event. There are thousands of people here for connection and fun, and it's hosted by one of the city of Minneapolis's violence interrupter groups that they are tracking, and we're told the results are real. It goes beyond each bounce and joyful laughs.
This is violence prevention when you look at it at its finest. These people could be doing anything else.
But they're here at Touch Outreach's annual Stop the Violence cookout. Executive Director Mohammed Abdul Ahad says at least 10,000 people attend.
These are the moments that we want.
This is the nigga who had a sexual relationship with Sasha Cotton in the Office of Violence Prevention in Minneapolis. It wasn't public knowledge. They didn't want nobody to know, but Sasha Cotton and Muhammad Abdul were fucking. See, that's how I know that people's ethics are fucked up, because as long as something, yeah, that's what's crazy to me, is that there be people in the city who be fucking each other, and they don't want that shit to get public, because then that's going to hurt what's going on behind closed doors, and then allowing the public to know that, yes, we can talk shit about Brian O'Hara, but let's talk about our violence interrupters. We could talk about Jonathan McKellen, who was fucking So let's not even. We can really have some conversations, but I will say this: that a lot of this shit is all just a show, Because I'll tell you like this: Sasha Cotton and Muhammad Abdul were fucking. We're fucking, just like the whole connections, relationships with. We push for peace. Nobody wanted to talk until they got fucked over. It was all fine and dandy until they got fucked over. The same thing with Brian Herron and the Wellness Collective. Nobody wanted to say shit until yet somebody came out. Man, that's don't even matter. So it's like, y'all allow this shit to go on because you don't see nothing wrong with it. You don't see anything wrong with it. And that is one of the biggest problems in Minneapolis. You have Bobby Joe Champion, who is the Senate president of the Senate, who's a Democrat, who allocates money to those nonprofits and churches. And y'all don't see nothing wrong with that. But again, hey.
Want to create for our community. There's not a lot of places where people feel safe where they can come to, where it's just thousands and thousands of people in one spot.
Touch Outreach is one of 3 community groups contracted with the city of Minneapolis, walking high crime areas to interrupt conflicts before they escalate.
Every mediation that they do is a shooting that didn't happen or a homicide that didn't happen. So that's an incredible indicator of the success that they're having.
We sat down with Amanda Harrington, the city's director of neighborhood safety, to learn how the city checks to see if this method is working.
From 2021 to 2025, there is a 53% decrease in shootings in the city, which is huge.
She says the group submit daily data.
Some of the things that we're looking at are number of community members that they're interacting with, how much public education they're getting out to community members.
And a big part is mediation. For the first time, we're seeing this public dashboard that shows interrupters are out as many as 83 days a month, reaching hundreds of people and stepping into 10 to 34 mediations. An impact that shows up here, both seen and felt.
Doesn't decide that.
I'll say this, right? When it's demon time, they're not out there. Them niggas are in the house sleeping. They're in the house making sure they're safe, because during the time of 10 p.m., which is demon time, them niggas ain't out. They're out kicking it with their homies. They're not cared about violence interruption. All these people are ex-gang, or so-called ex-gangbangers who now just have different titles. And that's part of the problem, is that we don't see that shit for what it really is and pay it really no mind, is because we really don't care, because it doesn't affect us. And until that really does start affecting everyone involved in Minnesota, it doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, and it affects you, man, people are still quiet. But I'm going to get up out of here. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Enjoy your Friday. Thank God it's Friday. And I hope everybody has a great one. Get out here and enjoy your family members. Go out here and enjoy your kids, your grandparents, and just enjoy it. Make sure that you love people who, because you can't get tomorrow back. Just always remember that one impulsive decision can make a lifetime of pain. And I really do want people to remember that is one impulsive decision can mess up your whole life. So with that being said, I'm up out of here. Here is Don Tripp, Eddie Valero, Memories of a Giant. And I'll see y'all next week. Same time, same place. See y'all later.
I got some, but I want more. House smelling like gun oil. Chasing after that fresh bread. In the bank like bonjour. Sorry, but I can't conform. Pistol on me like it's conjoined. Once I tell a nigga no, he forgot everything I done for him. Got mine, don't want yours. You little niggas ain't even right. Baby boy from the trenches, nigga, I curfew was a street light. Get it right, better keep it right. 2-clip trip, one and only. Thumper on me. Started with a Crown Vic when it got a 6 and I had a humble moment. Man, I wish we had more in common. Maybe then you'd understand what this mean to us. Money counter keep beeping like a nigga ringing up. Only thing I never had was sleep. Made a living off of bagging leaves. Sorry, I ain't got a conscience. I sell a half a P to a Catholic priest. Streets turned me to a rabid beast. Back when we ain't have scratch to eat. Early bird get the bread. Gotta be the first to come and the last to leave. Fat money don't last.